Hey, folks, welcome to the Black and Wild podcast. This is Morel coming to you from Austin, Texas. Today should be pretty interesting. I'm actually sitting here in the truck at my daughter's soccer practice. I have about 2 hours to just kind of pass time, and so I figured I'll give the podcasting deal a shot. So, this is our first episode of the Black and Wild podcast, and a couple things that we'll talk about today. In particular, are my first turkey hunt, which went down about a week and a half ago. Went out there with a buddy of mine that I met through the TexasBowhunter.com forum. It was a lot of fun. I'll tell you a little bit about that. The other thing that we'll talk about today is an upcoming hunt or planning for an upcoming hunt in September with a friend of the Black and Wild crew out of Georgia, where we will be doing a black bear hunt. So, with that, let's first dive into the turkey hunt. So, turkey season in Texas starts April 1st, so it pretty much runs the entire month of April. And it's something that I missed out on last year, just didn't have an opportunity to get out, but wanted to make sure that I got into the field this year. So last week, I invited a friend of mine's, Jonathan. He goes by Cali Hunter on the Texas Bowhunter Forum. We decided to go out and give it a shot to go bag us a turkey. So we went out to my wife's uncle's place out in Hallettsville, Texas, where he has about 110 acres or thereabouts. It's pretty nice. While we were there, we had the run of the place to ourselves. It was very relaxing. I would have liked to have gotten out there on Friday after work. However, we had soccer games and football games that Saturday morning, so we couldn't leave until Saturday afternoon. So it was pretty fun. The drive took us, just over an hour and a half. It's always a good drive. Anytime you get out of town, in my opinion, is a good drive. I just really enjoy the just kind of the quiet. It's interesting. I've gone out there a number of times. Most of the times I take the family, so I'll take my wife Sabrina, Anderson, my son, as well as Kennedy, my daughter, and so we'll go out there, and the whole way there'll be conversations, there'll be games of I Spy, various video game sounds, various music requests. So it's a pretty active ride out to Hallettsville. Was interesting, and this is just the difference I think between guys and gals and just communication. So Jonathan and I don't know, we may have said all of maybe 20 words in an hour and a half, and both of us just kind of sat quietly, enjoyed the drive down there. We did make a stop at Bucky's on the way back, but maybe so round trip, maybe 40 words round trip between the two of us. And but if you were to ask whether or not it was an eventful trip, whether or not we had a good time in the car, I guarantee you either one of us will say, yeah, it was great. Um, I just don't think guys in general have the desire to have long conversations, or just perhaps we don't feel as comfortable just one on one and talking. But nonetheless, let's get right out there. We got the ranch kind of all unlocked and whatnot. We couldn't go turkey hunting until the next morning, and so we decided to do a little work around the ranch. We had some feeders that needed to be filled. We also found one that needed some repairs, so just kind of made a note on some of the things that needed to happen. We cleared some shooting lanes um, in some of the places where we had our stands, and just did a little bit of scouting, just made some fences, and you know, just just kind of cleaned up a little bit. Instead of just doing nothing though, during this time, we decided that we'll take the opportunity and see if we could throw down some Kool-Aid and along with some corn and see if perhaps a hog or two might wander by later that evening. So we ate a little something. We grilled up some chicken breasts that we bought over fire and went ahead and just kind of just ate and then went out to the field and sat waiting for some hogs to come by. Unfortunately, we didn't see anything except an armadillo as well as a raccoon that night. I'm surprised in how stealthy raccoons are because we both had red lights on the raccoon. He really, maybe he knew that we were there. I don't think he did, although he looked like heard something in the tree stand which Jonathan was in. I myself was in a pop-up blind, so it didn't seem that I was really detected, but he certainly knew that Jonathan was there and just kind of made his way away from him. But he just kind of sauntered right across from the deer blind and all maybe 5 feet. He never knew I was there, but had I not seen the raccoon, I never would have known that he was there. He was just ridiculously quiet. So that was pretty awesome just to have that experience and just kind of observe how stealthy a little raccoon can be. But no action um, with the hogs that night. So maybe maybe next time. I mean, there's always a next time. With the feeders working, we'll see. Maybe we'll get some things going again. So we got back to the house, and we knew that we wanted to get up before dawn and just spend as much time as we could out in the field. So we hit the sack, get ready to get up and at 'em around 5:30 the next morning. We got up the next morning, got everything together, got got dressed, got our shotguns loaded. And funny thing, I was having trouble getting my shells in. It seems like they were getting stuck, but as it turns out, I just kind of not paying attention bought shells. They were too long. I bought a 3-inch shell where I really should have got a 2 and 3/4 inch shell for my shotgun. My bad. I just did not pay that much attention to the shotgun shell. I got the right, shot and everything else, but it was just the length was too long. So Jonathan, luckily, has some extra shells which he let me borrow. So it was just kind of an interesting morning, just getting to the place that we scouted the afternoon before because we had a little area that there was a feeder and we thought that this would be a great area for turkey and um, so we kind of made a mental note that this is where we were going to set up. It was a little spot that was just kind of southeast of the house. The problem, as you'll all know, is that when you're scouting a place during the daytime, it is much different at night. And so we decided to just walk over to the location because I felt that it was fairly close. We can make an easy walk of it. But lo and behold, it was a little further than I just kind of thought. And we got turned around just a little bit in the dark. But eventually we got to our location and got set up. So we got the decoy out. I had a hen that I got from Gander Mountain, just set it out there. Um, figure is better than nothing, and began calling. Uh, so this brings me to kind of my next this lesson. Though I really enjoyed going out with another guy. It was a lot of fun. I think that with the acreage that we had, we probably did more harm than good with both of us calling. I feel that we were kind of competing with each other to a certain extent with our calls, and so we did hear another turkey hunter on a property just southwest of us. So we knew that there were guys out. I just think we didn't do ourselves a favor by both um, being in such close proximity, and then continuing to uh, to work our calls. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just not one of those people that just likes to just sit. Yeah, after a little bit, of calling, we obviously we heard, Tom's calling back, and I wanted to get to where they were, and I felt that we were just not in a good location where we currently were to make that happen. So I decided to up and move, and I got moving and got closer. At which point I began to hear some calls made by another turkey hunter, and um, you know, at a certain point you realize, hey, this isn't this isn't going to work. So a little later in the morning, I decided to just try a different area, just try to a little spot that was a little northeast of our original location, and we it's a little cutout area. We have a tree stand there. There's a feeder about 60 yards from the tree stand, and so I tried to give that area, a try. So I began to call, and I heard, a turkey that was coming from that area. Um, so I began to make my move and to move in that area. So I get to a spot where I have a clear view of the tree stand, as well as the one of the lanes, the lane that was just south of the tree stand. And I see out of the corner of my eye, just to the left of the lane, a turkey. So I see, the tom right there, and I feel like we had this moment where I was in stalk mode with with no decoy. I should have brought my decoy, but I left it with my buddy Jonathan. I should have brought my decoy, but we caught eyes for just a moment. I paused. I think he paused for just a second and then took off. I began to make my way in the direction that he was going, which was north through some brush, and eventually came to a clearing that was near the road that was just north of that tree stand. Which makes sense because you earlier, let's see, the evening before, the afternoon before, we just went over to the neighbors, just to let them know that we were going to be in the area, and they told us that the turkeys were roosting just on the other side of the street. So I think I found an area where the turkeys are, they're roosting very near the street. There's a nice clearing there. There's food there. There's water there. Um, and I think the next time I go out, I'm gonna, sit in this location. I've seen turkey. I've heard turkey close to this area, and so I think next time I'm gonna give it a try. But when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, we weren't successful in our turkey hunt, although we had a ton of fun. I think both of us walked away having learned a little bit more about turkey hunting, a little bit more about probably being patient to a certain extent, but also I, for one, um, believe that you got to go where the turkey are. So, um, we tried the evening before to do some owl calls just to get an idea of where the turkeys were roosting, and we did get replies. Although we did not I don't think we did a good job at using what we knew to be true to our advantage. I think we could have done a much better job of just knowing that the turkeys were, north of us. If we would have just played our odds, we would have been in a much better situation. We were close to the area I think we needed to be, although we just weren't in as good of a position as I think we needed to. So that was a turkey hunt in a nutshell. Unfortunately, we had to leave that Sunday afternoon. I didn't have the extra days. I didn't have the extra time to stay. It would have been great if we would have gotten out Friday. We would have gotten some of these lessons on Saturday, and then we would have been able to put them into play on Sunday, but we didn't. So now the next time that we go out, we'll just have to make the most of the opportunity. So that was turkey hunt number one of 2016. We'll see. I plan to get out there, here in a couple weeks. Probably by the time this podcast airs, I would have been out there. So we'll see. We'll see how it works. Unfortunately, I've my grandmother passed here last week, so I'll be headed back home to attend the services. But I think afterwards, not only would it be just kind of good therapy to be back out in the field, but I think it's something she would have enjoyed and would have wanted as well. So now is the beginning of the 2016 turkey season. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about here is look at that. There were two things. I feel like a politician who I said, hey, there are two things I want to talk about, and then I forget the two things. So okay, one, it was turkey, and then two was upcoming bear hunt in Georgia that I'm beginning to work on for the mid-September. A friend of mine's from the Black and Wild Forum contacted me about a month or so ago and expressed that just kind of just being a good guy, he wanted to see if I'd be interested in going on a turkey hunt, or excuse me, a bear hunt in Georgia here later this year. Initially my reaction was, heck yeah, there's nothing better. I would love to do that. That'd be absolutely awesome. But I had to get the blessings of the wife and make sure that finances and whatnot were in order. But eventually, I think we come to an agreement that it'll be a great thing for me to do. The other beautiful part about it is that I'm also able to do this hunt with my dad. He and I have not been on a hunt together since I was maybe 11 or so, which is a little rabbit hunt. But this, I would say, will be our first real hunt together. I am for that just experience, that memory. I cannot express how grateful I am to my buddy Mike, and then just to have this opportunity to spend with my dad. I'm just incredibly happy to do this. So a couple things, and just doing a little research about bears in Georgia, what I found out is that the first of all, the bears in that area. So in South Carolina, in just that area in the southeast, South Carolina has some of, or North Carolina, excuse me, has some of the largest bears, if not the largest black bears in the world. That alone has me pretty pumped. I'm pretty excited by that. I'm not necessarily expecting to get some type of world class bear on this hunt, but just like playing the lottery, it's always fun to dream, which is exactly what I've been doing for the last week or so, just dreaming about what it would be like, what the smells would be like. I'm watching videos on YouTube, just trying to, understand what those experiences are like. I'm reading articles about black bear hunts, and so just doing as much homework as I possibly can to make sure that I, I'm prepared that I'm prepared for this hunt later in September. The other thing that I'm learning is that, man, the state of Georgia for out-of-state hunters is incredibly affordable. So for the out-of-state, non-resident big game tag is only $195. With that, you're able to take two black bear and 12 deer. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So I'm pretty excited about that. The other thing in the area that we're going to, which is the Cahuta WMA, is an enormous area, something like 90,000 acres. So they have huge swaths of public land in the northern part of Georgia where there's everything from black bear to deer. It just so happens, I think, right about the time that we're there is also dove season. So, worst comes to worst, there might be opportunity to shoot a dove. So, um, but the goal is to for a black bear, maybe two. The game plan right now is to spend for this to be a 7-day trip. 2 of those days for me will be travel days. So, the first day I would fly out to Cincinnati, and it's about a 2-hour drive, if I recall, from Cincinnati to North Georgia. That seems like it's not quite right. I have to do a little more research. Actually, I can take a look at Google Maps because I mean, from Cincinnati to just Georgia, I mean, that just seems like 2 hours is not Georgia. Just doesn't seem right. I mean, this to me, because I lived in Nashville, so from Nashville to Cincinnati was maybe 5 hours. So I mean, you're talking about, well, I mean, maybe 8 hours, maybe 8 hours. From Cincinnati to North Georgia. Um, so that's the game plan for me to fly out and then drive down, with my dad to North Georgia. Um, we need to just kind of narrow that down a little bit. Simply, I mean, we want to make sure that the time works out. But nonetheless, okay. So 7 days. 2 of those days will be travel days. To and from Cincinnati, and then on the plane, and then have really 4 or 5 days of hunting the area. The game plan for right now is for 2 of those days to be um, on private land that my buddy Mike has, kind of set up, and then for the rest of that time to be on public land. And so I don't know. I kind of want to make the most of this experience. I am looking at possibly camping or yeah, in just talking with him where we are. We're not that far from civilization where we could not potentially sleep in a hotel or a motel or a cabin or something like that while we're out there. But I need to look in that because I don't know. I just want to make sure that we really get the full experience. I would love to camp out, set up base camp, do some hunts, and then hopefully bag a bear, come back to camp, and just have a good time with a couple of guys. So I'll just have to do a little more homework as relates to that. Then so after we we do the hunt on private land, then we'll go over to public, and we'll see. My plan is that obviously I'm going to bow hunt. This is going to be a bow hunt for me. My goal is to get 2 bears with a bow. Is it realistic? I don't know, but that's my plan. That's what I want to do. Um, and so, just really, I think that during that time is close to muzzleloader season as well. So there could be um, some opportunity there for my dad, who he's a muzzleloader guy as well. So he may bring both his bow as well as his muzzleloader. But I personally plan for this to be a bow hunt. And then, yeah, just tag them, and heck, if we have enough time, if we have enough success, or depending on what we see, if we have the opportunity to take 12 deer, I see no reason why we would not want to take deer along the way. Um, I I mean, might as well just maximize our time there. Um, if we so happen to see a couple deer, then especially deer that are very nice. If we see any bucks that are really nice, then I would love to take one or two or 12 for that matter. We'll see. We'll see. Really looking forward to that. So I'm pretty pumped. I've never done an out of state hunt. I primarily have hunted in the state of Texas, which I live just north of Austin in Round Rock. So this will be my first time really doing an out-of-state hunt. Already looking at the budget, I can tell you that just factoring in things like travel expenses as well as some equipment that would have been needed anyway, but for this particular thing, for this particular hunt, or I think are just a must-have. It's going to be a lot cheaper than other type of hunts, but it's still going to cost some money that I'll just have to commit to. The challenge is that I'm also planning a wedding reception during this period, and then we have a lot of other things that we're trying to do as a family. So I just have to, like a responsible person, this time just have to make sure that we're taking care of any and all those necessities and just kind of the requirements first prior to embarking on this journey. But I'm pretty excited. I think my wife, wasn't terribly excited initially with the idea. I think that I will definitely have to give her a big I owe you and an I love you, because this is gonna 7 days a week for her to have both kids, and with everything that's going on, it's going to be tough. So I don't know. I'm just going to have to see if I can make a way somehow for there to be some help while I'm gone. I just it's the right thing to do. So luckily we have plenty of time. It is here at mid-April. I have about 5 months until September. So a lot of time to get things dialed in and figured out. Get the bow tuned. I need some new strings. Get everything dialed in for this hunt. But I wanted to tell you about it. I'm super excited to go and to try to get a bear, but more importantly, just for the opportunity to go with my dad. I think for both he and I, this is a dream come true. Um, just having the opportunity to have this father-son hunt. And if we're both successful, I mean, I'm not a crier by any means, but I might cry. Uh, we're going to try to capture everything on video for you guys, and just for posterity, I think it is, just so that our family can be a part of it and just experience what we experienced and have it a part of our family history for all time. Plus, if we upload it to YouTube, everything will be on YouTube forever, right? And so So that's it. I just wanted to, tell you guys about it. I'm sure that there'll be plenty more to talk about the bear hunt as we get closer. We'd love to have some other folks on. Maybe I'll get Michael on the phone here and we could do an episode just talking about his experience and just, what to expect because he and I mean, I for one would love to better understand what it's like, what the terrain's like, how should we handle sit and control, what type of safety equipment, if we're camping, what type of food, and do we need to bring coolers and just coordinate with my dad just to better understand, what equipment he has access to and what needs to be purchased. So, just wanted to, you know, a lot more left to do. We'll definitely record the calls and see if it's something that you'd be interested in. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you know with the community here on Black and Wild. So with that, guys and gals, this is it. This is the first Black and Wild podcast. Hopefully of many. As long as my daughter is in soccer, at least twice a week, I have about 2 hours to sit in my truck and just kind of contemplate things in a nice, quiet environment to record the podcast. And things going well, maybe I can do one or two of these a week. We'll see. But for right now, let's get the first one done. So with that, just wanted to, just thank you for your time. Hopefully that you'll continue to tune in. I plan to post this in a couple of different areas. I think we'll start off with YouTube. So, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and you'll be able to get updated podcasts as they're released. So with that, just want to say, you guys keep it real. Spend as much time as you can out in the field. We'll love to hear your stories and your feedback as well. So join the blackandwild.net forum. The more people that we have there, the more contribution and just kind of the more stories that we can share with each other. So with that, you take care.